It is now time to talk about WWE Survivor Series War Games 2024 that happened on November 30th, 2024 from the Rogers Arena over in Vancouver, British Columbia. I am recording this on on December 1st. So day after, it's Sunday. We had time to sleep on it and relax on it. And, you know, because this is usually what I like to do, right? I like to watch a show. I like to, distance myself, sleep on it, and then come back the next day. Sometimes, I'm a little more illuminated on things. Sometimes you sort of let the feeling pass, and it helps. You let the feeling pass, and it helps you be perhaps a little more objective in how things went down and so on and so forth. Or, it just ends up justifying how you were feeling as well. If you're feeling the same thing as you were the night before, well, then you're like, well, I was kind of right last night. Everything's fine. And it turns out that I'm feeling the exact same thing as I did watching the show itself. And that is miserable. But miserable, I might be playing it up for effect here. But this was not a good wrestling show. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is a die-hard, die-in-the-wool WWE fan. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be a fan of whatever you like. But if you're a professional wrestling fan, if you like to sample wares across multiple promotions in different geographic areas in the world, I don't see how this holds up. I don't see how you can look at this and say, this was pretty damn good, or this was pretty good, or this wasn't so bad. This was not a good professional wrestling show. It's one that is perfectly suited to WWE fans. This is the fans who go and watch this and go crazy at the main event are exactly the fans they want, and they're giving them exactly what they want. So you can't blame WWE to do things to cater first and foremost to their fans. That makes perfect sense, right? Does WWE really want me as a fan? I don't know, probably not, because they're not doing stuff for me. And I've got other places that exist that do stuff for me. So if you're into the bloodline stuff, if you like, basic ass intrigue, if you like watching the same stories about mistrust over and over and over again, well, this is the show for you. Like, this was the main event for you on top of it all. But if you like to watch professional wrestling, which is kind of like, what we're doing here, which is kind of what WWE specializes in, well, maybe you found this to be a little more tedious than you expected. Let's start by talking about some numbers before we get into the show itself. Although you've got a pretty good idea already where this is going to go. WrestleTix is reporting that there were 17,417 tickets distributed at the Rogers Arena last night. I think WWE is reporting 17,828. And if we're going if we're fluffing up the numbers by 400 people, that's not so bad. We've seen wrestling promotions do a lot worse than just 400 people, right? This is another successful outing, right? 17,000 people locked into the arena. An arena that's, I believe the capacity is around 19,000 for basketball games. So when you consider, they do the minimal stage setups, right? Have you noticed this? They started doing minimal stage setups for the pay-per-views so that they can get more people in, which is smart, right? That's what you want to do. You don't need, excuse me, you don't need the big video screen everywhere all the time. They do these other formats to just be able to get more people seated in the building, and it works out because then your venues look practically full, or end up being practically full, and they look full. So yeah, about I'd say 19,000, that's usually for a basketball game, right? 19,000, 19,500, something like that. So not bad. I don't think this is a bad like, hot take. I don't think putting 17,000 people in a building for a wrestling show is a bad. I don't think it's a bad thing. Hot take. Look at me with my top tier analysis here going. No, like this is very good. Like there's no. I was reading an article earlier today on a website called Daily Hive, which is a site that reports on stuff happening in Vancouver, I guess. And there was an article in their sports section specifically about ticket prices for WWE Survivor Series. They said that the ticket prices were plummeting. The article says that, and this was published yesterday, so the day of the show. They were saying that at the offset, upper bowl tickets were at $255. This is all Canadian, by the way, $255 Canadian. And then dropped this week, tickets in the 10th row going for $178. And right now, standard admission seats in the lower bowl are as low as $106, which would be maybe like $80 American, something like that. So the ticket prices, when they say they were plummeting, we're talking about day of, which again is a smart strategy. But, there's some of us who have been observing a softening of WWE attendance. I'm not saying that it's dropping. I'm not saying that suddenly it's as disastrous as AEW levels. We're not talking about that. I'm not even close to drawing that comparison, but we have noticed a certain softening of attendance to WWE shows. Not a tremendous drop. It's not things where you're like, oh, look, it's nosediving. A softening. And this type of article sort of reinforces that, whereas not that long ago, this show would have sold out in a blink. But here they still had tickets available. They still had quite a few tickets available. And they were doing some pretty deep discounts, whereas just a couple of months ago, they were the prices were much higher, which also ties into the narrative that a lot of fans are experiencing when they're experiencing and forwarding, in as such that WWE tickets are priced out of the market. They're so expensive that you just can't afford to go see them. And we've been talking about this for a while, with the shows for the shows in Europe and so on and so forth, and in the UK. I basically maintain the same point. It's like I sort of shrug my shoulders and I go, well, what were you expecting? Outside of TKO taking over WWE, TKO, which is notorious for overinflating the price of their tickets. This is what happens when a product is hot. When a product is hot, the tickets are more expensive. It's just as simple as that. If they get priced out of the market, well, that's an entire other discussion. But the fact is that even if they're priced out of the market, it's not keeping people from going and filling out the arenas. So that's how you have a hot product. And look, it's capitalism at its finest. What do you want from me? There's high demand. There's high demand. The supply of tickets is naturally rarefied because of the number of actual physical seats available. So of course you're going to jack up the prices, right? You're going to make them a little more expensive. So it'll be interesting to see how their strategy develops moving forward. Like, the big pay-per-views will never, I don't think, have a real issue, right? The WrestleManias, the Survivor Series, the SummerSlams, the Royal Rumble, none of these will ever have a problem getting stuff put together, right? Like this, getting tickets moving is what I'm trying to say. But for everything else, for the live tapings and so on and so forth, and I mean, WWE is further creating rarity for their shows by cutting down on house shows, which was always a moment that you could go see WWE at a significantly discounted price from TV, although in recent years the discount is not as prevalent. But it was a way for WWE to go into smaller markets, not bring the whole TV apparatus, and just have a nice show for everyone, right? And you're not paying out the wazoo because it's a TV taping. They're cutting back on those, which creates additional rarity for the product. I mean, it's contrived, right? I know there's a term for it. It's not coming to me right now, but when you self-create your own rarity, right? That's what they're doing. So more people will go to the big shows, buy the tickets for some big money, right? That's what WWE is into here. So again, to circle back to my point, they're doing fantastic business for the live events, period. Like, it's doing tremendous. But there is a softening. It's not as hot. It's hot. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a slowly trending to something that doesn't like instantly create sellouts anymore. We won't be having this discussion next year, which is upcoming soon, by the way. But we won't be having this discussion anytime soon. We won't be having this discussion next year when WWE does their European tour, where those shows are likely going to sell out and sell out at astronomical prices, right? Like, they will sell out at just bonkers amounts of money. And people are still going to fill these arenas that they're going to go, that WWE is going to visit. And again, I don't see anything inherently wrong with that. There's nothing bad about it. That's how the open market works. Now, are they pricing out fans? Are they keeping families from going? Like, you can get more into that granular discussion, and I would probably agree with most of that as well. I would probably say that, yeah, it's like, well, honey, it's either paying the mortgage this month or taking the kids to a WWE show. That's a whole other discussion, but I feel it also goes higher than just WWE economics. It goes to economics in general. And I am not equipped to have that discussion. I am equipped to talk about this show, though. We're going to get into it now. I don't know how to start this show, this review. I don't know how to kick this off. Sometimes I like to go start with the main event and then break it down. But like, I feel maybe we should just go in order of the shows, of the matches. Excuse me. Maybe we should just go in order, because I think it's by going in order of which the matches happened is going to be much more conducive to the ultimate point that I'm trying to make here, which I did not think this was a good show and that this was not a good watch. So we might as well do it in order, right? Let's do it. Show started off with the women's war game match. The team of Bianca Belair, Bayley, Io Sky, caught myself that time, Naomi, and Rhea Ripley defeated the team of Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Candice LeRae, Nia Jax, and Tiffany Stratton. Here are some of the notes I wrote. Well, okay. This match was not good. This match was not good. And I question even the diehard WWE fans who I saw on the Blue Sky timeline saying how great this was, how it was a great match, how much fun it was. So I question these people. I sincerely do. Have the standards been lowered so bad that this match can happen and people are still going to clap for it? They're still going to pat everyone on the back and say, nice job, boy, what a great time. And I understand at the same time that, to a degree, from some people anyway, women's wrestling has always been graded on a curve, so to speak. It's like, well, and this is always something that comes up where it's like, oh, well, they put in a lot of effort and they should be commended for that. No, like, shouldn't they be commended for putting on great wrestling matches? Wouldn't that be like the reason to pat them on the back? Because everyone should put effort in their job. Like, everyone should put effort in what they do, especially when you're trying to entertain people. You should be putting in effort, right? You go see a band and the lead singer's not into it. You know, he's working your schlub of a hometown and he doesn't want to be there. He's excited to get to Montreal. Well, I mean, I may be speaking from experience here. He's excited to get to Montreal, which is the show he's doing tomorrow. It's a Thursday night in my sleepy ass town. Not that many people are there. The guy's half-assing it. Am I going to pat him on the back and say, hey, great show? No. It's going to be like, no. And I'm not going to commend him for his effort. He didn't put any in. Ergo, I was not entertained. I really thought at some point that in this post WWE Women's Revolution era, that the discourse around, oh, the women did their best, oh, they tried, you know, they put in effort. I thought that discourse was going to hit the bricks, right? Because if one of the if one of the precepts of wanting equality or equity, being on the same level, being considered on the same level as male pro wrestlers, if one of the precepts is that, then we shouldn't be, you know, giving out participation trophies to the women if they're having subpar matches. If like this, you can't have one without the other. And I thought that we would have hit a moment where it's like, well, we can be absolutely perfectly objective about women's matches without having to curve downward because, oh, it's the women, they're trying, they're doing their best. Now it's more like, are they just delivering kick-ass matches? Are they just doing it, right? In this circumstance here, they did not. And there's no reason why they shouldn't have. But all it turned out to be was just a bad WWE plunder match where the cage was not even used. You know, didn't really throw each other into it, didn't grate the faces. Like, take away the cage, and all you're taking away, remove the cage from the match, and all you're taking away is the Io Shirai, Tiffany Stratton spot from the top of the cage, which is tremendous. Don't get me wrong. Tiffany Stratton doing her swanton as Io does the trash can gimmick that everyone was really excited to see. Like, the only thing that really got a pop in this match was Shirai climbing to the top with the fucking trash can, which was spray painted in Io Shirai's colors. Io Sky, I'm sorry. That one will not drive into my brain. This was not good. Like, no heat, annoying. You know, everyone who came to the ring had to look under the ring to throw in some shit. Every person. And I'm like, can't they just get in and kick some ass? And again, it's not as if they don't have the women to do exactly that. When you've got Bianca Belair and you've got Rhea Ripley in there, who are just like natural ass kickers, let them get in there and swing some people around. You know, like I feel like there are a lot of apologists still out there who are, you know, who walk on eggshells. And are like, well, this was good effort, ladies. You know, this was great effort by everyone involved. When it's like, look, you can just outright say it. You can use your whole chest and say, this was not good. And if it were dudes who did this, I would say the exact same thing. Just as you flip the opposite and the women deliver a stellar match, I'd be here hooting and hollering, but I'm not. This was not good. And I got to tell you, okay, we will add this little caveat into all of this. And this applies for the men's war games as well. and applies to Blood and Guts. It applies to the War Games concept in general. This is a hard match to get over. It's a hard match to do. It's a hard match to make interesting. But the one thing you need, I feel, in any War Games match for it to be successful is chaos. It's chaos. You need stuff happening everywhere all the time. People being violent with each other. But here you use the same old WWE thing where it's like when someone gets knocked out and they roll to the side and, they agonize for 120 seconds, as opposed to having someone go at them and sort of put them in a headlock, beat on them some more. It's one of these over-sanitized, overproduced WWE matches where it's like, no, we got to make it clear that this is the thing that's happening right now, which is fine. But then the rest of your environment can feel alive. The rest of your environment can feel like a living, breathing match with people doing minimal, doing shit, but doesn't need to be focused directly on them. But no, we're all gonna head to the sides of the ring and lie on our backs for 2 minutes just waiting for our spot. Right? It felt sterile. That's how it felt. Felt sterile. It felt like, you're in a lab, you're controlling an environment. And it was controlled to the point that you could actually see the structure of this match. It didn't feel organic. It didn't feel natural. You could actually see the structure of this match where people would do things and then you'd see, oh, now they're waiting for spots. Now, this is coming up next. You could see the movements of this match, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And the offense here was all so soft. Everything was soft. And the chair shots were just terrible. They're bringing in all this plunder and they're not even using it well. Nia Jax, who, they keep billing her as this killer, this huge, dangerous participant, right? But she's swinging the chair like she's swinging a porcelain doll and she doesn't want to break it. It's ridiculous. And everyone's blowing spots in this match. Everyone's blowing spots. And, and then there's this one spot that's completely blown where Io Shirai is coming up from the side of the ring. She's at the top. I mean, because she wants to do the dive thing, right? And she's at the top of the cage is what I'm trying to say, not the ring. She's at the top of the cage. And Candice LeRae then climbs up after her, right, to try and drag her down. And then what the spot was supposed to be, while Candice LeRae is spider monkeying on the mesh, Io is supposed to slide down her back, grab onto her waist, and then basically sunset bomb her off of the cage, right? Which would have been a cool spot, but Io's grip slipped off the waist. So Candice stayed in her spider monkey position, which is what you should do because the spot was flubbed. The spot did not work out. So it would have looked dumber. I mean, I'm thankful that Candice didn't go through with the motion because it would have looked dumber for her to actually do the spot. Then they sort of redid it. The first thing Io does was she gets back up and she punches her in the ass, and then they sort of set up and do it again. Everyone is blowing stuff in this match. And then, we get the moonsault and swanton spot that I talked about already. And then, of course, you got to do the stupid cash-in gimmick, right? You got to do the cash-in gimmick here with Tiffany Stratton, who's because she's in front of both Liv and Nia, and she's going, who should I cash in on? And you want to understand how stupid this is. This is how fucking stupid this is. Let's say she had decided to cash in. Why is she considering covering Nia Jax? Because the referee would be like, no, you can't cover her because she's on your team, right? Or is it, if she cashes in, does this mean that suddenly like everyone is fair game? Both of them are fair game. And if she cashes in, she wins the title. But then does that mean that she wins the War Games for her team? You know? And why is she going, why is she just fucking do it? Give the fucking briefcase to, and why am I getting upset about this? I hate the cash-in gimmick. I think it's so lame. And it was lame here as well. Tiffany Stratton's thing has been, I am teasing this at every pay-per-view and it's not following through. And I could not care at this point. I don't care anymore. Like, if anything, this has shown to me that Tiffany Stratton is not all that interesting as a champion, because she's not seizing any opportunities. She's just like, because the reason why she didn't do it was Raquel Rodriguez going, the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this now? When she should be like, fuck you, cracking it across the head of Rodriguez and then pinning whichever one of the two. Like, let's just get this over with. And it was hidden in one of the trash cans, of course, right? The briefcase was. Naomi's offense is really dumb. Like, it's dumb offense. Like, none of it looks impactful. And this is someone who has been doing this for years at this point, right? How long has Naomi been at this? Give me a second. 15 years. Naomi has been at this for 15 years, and her offense has never looked impactful in any single way. And then they do a whole thing with Liv and Rhea. That's a whole, that's the story. Rhea ultimately ends up winning by doing a riptide off the top rope, which through the table, actually. Was it through a table? Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, I think so. Getting things. It was actually cool. That was actually cool. But what a miserable match this was. 2 stars. This was not good. And I was annoyed. I was frustrated. There's just nothing here. Speaking of there was just nothing here, Shinsuke Nakamura defeated LA Knight to become the new United States champion. This crowd was not into this match. Despite it including LA Knight, who people tell me is super over and everyone loves. And you know what? I came in this with slightly higher expectations than usual, but just slightly higher expectations, because I found that LA Knight had been involved in a couple of PLE matches. Look at me. Look at me adopting the jargon. He had been involved in a couple of matches on these shows that I thought were pretty good. Wasn't it at Bad Blood? I can't remember. Wasn't it at Bad Blood that he was actually in one of the better matches of the show, where I was like, this was actually really, really good. Anyway, I don't remember exactly when it was. When it comes to this match here, though, he wasn't there. And Shinsuke Nakamura wasn't there as well. He's debuting a whole new look, right? He's like, mean looking samurai now, whatever. And I was talking to some folks who said, isn't it nice to see, isn't it nice that badass Shinsuke Nakamura is back? Like, is it? Is he? We're about to find out. He's got the cool entrance. Here's the thing with Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura has never had a not cool entrance. Whether it be the theme song or the whole package put together, Shinsuke has never been want for a cool entrance. The cool entrances have never been a problem with Shinsuke Nakamura as a professional wrestler. The problem with Shinsuke Nakamura, in WWE at the very least, is that he doesn't deliver. He doesn't go above and beyond. He does nothing. He is the king of stale style now. And he has proved it once again in this match here. So I don't care how badass the entrance looks. This Shinsuke is nothing. He provides nothing exciting. It's just plain, uninspired, paint by number stuff that he looks completely uninvested in. And we're not done talking about people who are uninvested in matches. Let me tell you. The crowd, like I said, though, the crowd is not into this except to chant LA Knight, yeah. And I really don't have any notes. I really don't have any notes. Shinsuke wins with the Kinshasa, and this was a mediocre match. This was a mediocre match. I gave it 2.5 stars. But it's just like, this is Shinsuke Nakamura now. And like I said, he's been dusted off for his biannual push. And he's going to do this for a while, and then they're going to put him back in the closet until they need him again. Braun Breaker defeated Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus to retain the WWE Intercontinental title. And there you go. That's how you get me fired up. This is what I tell you all when I say WWE could give us great wrestling matches, but they choose not to. They choose not to, because when they let the wrestlers go do wrestler things, you can get stuff like this match here. And I said it recently. I believe I said it recently. I don't remember where exactly, but it bears repeating here because it makes sense. WWE is very hot right now as opposed to its competition, and it excels at everything better. It excels at it, and they're better than the competition is at many, many things except pro wrestling. And I said, I believe this, that if WWE were ever to figure it out, that they could deliver great quality matches on the regular, there would be no competition. Then there truly would be no reason to go elsewhere, because Breaker, Kaiser, Sheamus, that ruled. Hard-hitting, well put together, well wrestled match with some great intensity, just pummeling each other at points, dropping each other, and Braun Breaker. Look, you got to realize just how good Braun Breaker has become since moving up on the main roster. I mean, in NXT, and this is what I maintained from the start. In NXT, back in the pandemic, when he debuted, essentially, we were all so desperate, wrestling fans. We were, look, everyone was desperate just to latch onto something and have something fun, entertaining, right? So Breaker comes out. He's got this whole different vibe about him. He's got this energy. He's got, comes across like a big dumb jock, and you're like, all right, let's go. He's got something different. He starts getting clipped on Twitter a bunch. People get excited about his work because of it. And then next thing you know, they make him NXT champion, where I was like, this is not a good idea. They shouldn't do that. This guy's not ready. And ultimately he proved that he wasn't ready, because his championship run really wasn't spectacular. They retool his character a little bit. They try to make him a heel and so on and so forth. But really, once he gets to main roster, they figure out how to work this guy. They figure out how to make him work. And he's been tremendous. He really has been breaking out of, no pun intended, breaking out of the shell that they had created for him. Now he's phenomenal. Like that diving shoulder block that he did to Ludwig Kaiser on the floor, where he just jumped in on screen, that was tremendous, And you didn't need to overly contrive the camera shots like WWE loves to do. The guy just was literally Supermaning his way into the camera. Like, it was a great move. People pop for it. Lots of things to pop in this match for. Sheamus was absolutely fantastic. Ludwig Kaiser, perfect heel in this circumstance where you've got two bruisers, two guys who just love to beat people up. And Kaiser he is the perfect, super smart heel to just like sucker them into stuff or weasel his way out of things. He was tremendous the whole way through. The shillelagh shots on Sheamus were disgusting. That's what they were. They were disgusting. And Sheamus took them all. He's a madman. And he's got these big blisters and on his back and his arm. You know, he's opened up a little bit. All of this was fantastic. Sheamus was remarkable, like he usually is. You know, I have a pretty solid track record of loving, post 2020 Sheamus matches or post 2019 Sheamus matches. Like, imagine for a second, you go back to when Sheamus was world champion, and instead of the smiling, happy to be here, pale as everything guy that he was, imagine kick-ass brawler Sheamus, like being world champion back then. I think they really would have had something. They still have something with them. They still have something with Sheamus, but they'll never pull the trigger on him again. Like, that ship has passed, unfortunately. Which is why a lot of us were very intrigued at the idea, when news of Sheamus's contract was coming up, we were sort of scratching our chins and going, well, I wonder how that'd work out in AEW, right? This was phenomenal. And you know what? It was the first match that truly felt organic and got the crowd into it, right? When Sheamus was doing all this cool shit on the floor, he's doing the forearms to the chest thing. He did it to both dudes, Crowd was into it. And what does he do? He turns around and he celebrates with the crowd, right? He jumps into the audience and he's chest bumping people and he's high-fiving the crowd. And you're like, see? This is great. And I'm sure this wasn't scripted. Maybe he had a little talking to in the back. It's like, that wasn't part of the plan, Sheamus. You shouldn't have done that. But I'll be damned if this wasn't the match that woke up this crowd and got people invested in it. I thought this was a tremendous piece of business. 4 stars out of 5 for me. It's unquestionably the match of the night. I will not entertain other arguments. This was the match of the night. Gunther defeated Damian Priest to retain the consolation prize. I cannot believe that the story that they were telling here is that Gunther is having uncertainty, that Gunther is having self-doubt. Walter having self-doubt. I cannot believe that this is the story they're telling with this guy who is supposed to be an absolute killer. Self-doubt because of Damian Priest. A guy that I know a lot of people love, but doesn't have the same type of presence that Gunther has. Doesn't have the same type of background. And the match wasn't bad. I actually liked this match. I thought it was a good build as Damian Priest sold the shoulder. And then you had Gunther, smiling, and coming in and just working the shoulder. A shark tasting blood kind of thing. I really liked it. I thought the match worked really well until they decided to do the exact same finish that they did at SummerSlam. Finn Balor running in, interfering, costing Priest the match, allowing Gunther the win. And here's the other thing that I cannot believe we're doing with Gunther, a guy whose entire career, and even the WWE stuff, was based around him plowing through dudes, just destroying guys. Now, since he's won the championship, can't win a match without people helping him. Couldn't beat Damian Priest at SummerSlam without Finn Balor. Can't beat him again without Finn Balor. Couldn't beat Cody Rhodes without anyone helping him. He lost at the Saudi show, right? It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that Walter is just now just like everyone else on the roster when he could be so much, and he has been so much more special. I hated the finish, and I think it took away a lot here. There wouldn't have been any problems with Gunther getting the. There wouldn't have been any issues with Gunther getting a cleaner win than this. At the very least, bring Priest in. Maybe do the power bomb, cover him, and then Priest kicking out, and then Gunther having to wear him down some more. That would have been something. But we led right into the finish after Finn attacked him. 3.25 stars for me. And then the men's War Games match, where the OG Bloodline and CM Punk defeated the Bloodline. Remember what I said at the start when I said that WWE is absolutely right in creating things for their fans? First and foremost, this is exactly it. This is a match right now that stands on Cage Match at 8.16. And we know why. It's because of the CM Punk, Roman Reigns interactions that people were losing their minds about. Because this was an extremely, like a bare bones average match, but that had all these callbacks with the Usos getting back on the same page and Sami Zayn returning to the fold, and then the CM Punk wild card. What is he going to do, right? Because there always has to be mistrust in the Bloodline angle. That's only and all what it is. That's all the Bloodline angle is. It's who doesn't trust who. That's all they do. That's all it is. People tried to paint this off as some great TV, but it's not. It really isn't. It's the same thing that's been recycled over and over again. And now it's CM Punk who is the guy who we cannot trust. Until the end of the match, where CM Punk earned the trust of the OTC. I thought it was really funny that Jey Uso got introduced last, and CM Punk was the third guy in, just behind Roman. Like, I expected him to come in before Roman, but I didn't expect CM Punk to play third fiddle, I should say, to Jey Uso, which also was weird. But I understand why they do it, because everyone wants to do the yeet. Everyone wants to yeet. They want to do the yeet. So it probably made a lot more sense from a presentation standpoint to have Jey Uso come in after everyone, and he came in through the audience as well. Did the whole thing there. But I started baking cookies just as Gunther and Damian Priest ended. When the match was done, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make some oatmeal cookies. Put them in the oven. I was like, these will be done by the end of introductions for the next match. And they were. And they were great, by the way. You had some cinnamon, some vanilla extract. Brother, I'll tell you. Let me tell you. So, I had I was watching out of the corner of my eye, but these are fucking entrances, right? The one that I did watch with a little more intent was CM Punk, because I wanted to see what kind of how he was going to be, right? And I've seen a lot of CM Punk in my day. I've seen a lot of CM Punk matches. And there's one thing you can say about CM Punk, is that he's a pretty easy guy to read if you're wondering what his state of mind is. Like, I think you can get a general vibe from old Phil Brooks when he comes out for a match. You can tell when things are, when he's into it and when he's not. And he was not into this. From the moment he stepped out from the curtains, I was looking at him, Phil doesn't look really into this. He doesn't look interested. And from everything that we know about CM Punk, the years upon years of him doing interviews and shoot interviews and talking and his reasons for leaving WWE and so on and so forth and his vision of pro wrestling. This is the kind of stuff he hates. Like, this is not what he sees as pro wrestling, which is why the whole bracelet stuff, was very contentious. And go look at Punk's attitude coming out for his Hell in a Cell match versus Drew, as opposed to this match here. You've got two completely different feels. Because there's one, he's going in and he's like, we're doing it. I'm going Terry Funk mode on in this one here. But here, he had to do the sports entertainment. He had to do stuff which doesn't connect with his vision of pro wrestling. And he was not into it. And I thought he looked detached and he looked bored. And there's been a picture circulating, right? From that one shot of Roman Reigns and CM Punk, like both in opposite corners of the cage, right? And CM Punk looks completely bored. And people are saying, will likely say, oh, he's hamming it up. He's acting. Maybe. But also, maybe not. And the maybe not to me is very plausible, very possible. I think we witnessed a couple of tells from CM Punk when he's doing the GTS, hand signal while the rest of the bloodline are pointing to the heavens. Corny as fuck, awkward as all hell. You can see it in his eyes that he's hating every second of that he feels embarrassed doing that. Hell, he was walking straight. He walked straight to the back, leaving the bloodline do their thing. He went backstage and they had to send him back out to do the final pose, like next to the cages, outside of the War Games cage, next to the containment cages, the shark cages. He had to walk back out to do the GTS thing with them again. Brother, he was not into this. He was not into this for a second. And neither was I. So I think I started talking about this. I think I started talking about this by stating, WWE should design stuff for their audience, right? This is where we all started out, right? Yeah. And that's fine. And they should, and they have to. Of course, you're going to cater to your audience. That's stupid if you don't, right? So since I am not the core audience for this, and the bloodline drama means nothing to me, and I even think it's cringe. I think it's overwrought. I think it distracts. I don't even think it's good. Since I am not the crowd for that, I look at this match and I'm like, this was not good. This again was not good. A collection of dudes doing things. Look, there's positives here as opposed to the women's match. Not everyone was coming in, and going under the ring to toss and plunder. I'm like, this is refreshing, right? But the build up to this is so awkward. The build up to the match, when the match officially starts, right? Once everyone is in, is so weird and awkward. Like the Usos get some dual offense in early on, right? Which is supposed to be a big deal because Jimmy and Jay haven't been working together for a while. And it was so awkward. Like it was really, really, really awkward. And there's no chaos to this, just like the women's, just stuff happening. And there's no impact. Nothing feels significant. But everyone's just waiting for the story, right? Everyone, regardless, watching this match, are just waiting to see who's going to turn on Roman, right? Is CM Punk going to turn on Roman Reigns, right? And you think you're going to get that, when they're both finally standing face to face in the ring, right? After Roman refused to lift CM Punk off the ground, and they started getting to each other's face, and then you have Paul Heyman run down and through the cage. He's like, my tribal chief. the best in the world. You must work together. This is War Games. And I'm like, oh my God. It's also corny. Like it's so fucking corny. And Solo Sikoa, right? Again, people apparently now he's doing some great work, and I just look at this guy go, and I still don't see it. I don't see a goddamn thing. I don't see a thing where he is supposed to be treated like a top guy. Like once this shit with Roman is done, once Roman starts focusing on Cody Rhodes again, back to the mid card with you, son. Right? Like that's where we're going. We're heading all the way back down to that. And Solo has this brilliant idea where he's going to keep Roman Reigns from entering the War Games match by locking up the door to the cage with a chain and padlock that are his and do not belong to the referees, and he only has the key. So he has this brilliant idea to lock the door to a cage that does not have a roof to keep Roman Reigns from entering. And he locks it up and he practically goes, "Mwahaha! Where's your God now, Roman Reigns? You will never be able to enter this match." Do you know how fucking stupid this is? Because there's two reasons, actually. The first reason is because the cage doesn't have a roof. And Roman should have just instead of coming down and shaking the door, get the key, he should have just been like, shrugged. He should have shrugged and start climbing immediately instead of doing this performance like a goof. Okay. First of all, as he was locking it up, I was like, what is he doing? The cage doesn't have a roof. The cage didn't have a roof, we'd have something else to talk about. But I'm like, the fuck is this? What is he doing? This is stupid. And it's stupid for a second reason. The match starts once everyone is in the ring, inside the cage. Let's just assume that there was a roof, and this was a brilliant plan by Solo Sikoa, which it wasn't. It was stupid. How did Solo expect to win the match then? What was his plan to actually win the match if Roman can't get in and the referee doesn't start the match to actually open up so that it starts so that people can actually win it? What was his plan? What was he supposed to do? Just hang around there all night until Roman gets sleepy? What the fuck, dude? This was all terrible. You know, they're like, oh, we're going to do these cool things. Oh, Solo, such a mastermind. He's an idiot. That was dumb. That was just dumb. Dumb on every level. No psychology behind this. That made sense. It's just dumb. At least Tongaloa didn't blow any spots. At least. But you know what? There's this moment where everyone is landing things, and yes, Jacob Fatu rules. Okay, that's fine. But Warren, you know, Jacob Fatu was doing, yes, but like one guy doing cool things doesn't save a match when there's 9 other dudes in there that are just like, there's this one sequence towards the end after Roman has got in the cage where everyone is doing shit on, you know, they're landing big moves. They're doing things. The match has started and they're doing stuff, and everyone's sort of like lying around in the ring and no one is fucking pinning anyone. And we're doing like big spots. I'm like, what the fuck? No one is trying to pin anyone. Anyway, Roman apparently tries to extend a peace offering to Solo Sikoa, who refuses, and then everyone lands their finishers on Solo, and Roman gets the win, and it's done. And Roman Reigns and CM Punk shake hands because CM Punk saved Roman Reigns from taking a big splash from Bronson Reed, and yeah, through a table. And Bronson Reed ate shit. But even when they were setting that up, I was like, there's no way Roman's taking that bump. There's no way Roman is taking Bronson Reed flying off the top. Roman's not taking that. There's no way he is. I was right. Of course I'm right. Anyway, 2.25 stars for me, this match. Just like uninteresting, kind of tedious, awkward, dumb stuff. Again, like if you're not into these storylines, there's nothing for you in here, because that's all this is. It's just like telling stories. That's all it is. So if you're not into this kind of stuff, the War Games match has nothing for you. I think, if you want my personal opinion, I think that ever since the Triple H has taken over and has been booking War Games matches at Survivor Series, I would argue that there hasn't been a good one. I don't think they have been good, like really good. And I said it at the start. This might not necessarily be an issue that is connected to WWE specifically, because these types of matches, these War Games matches, are really, really difficult to get over as good. There's a couple in the history of War Games going all the way back to the 90s, when the early War Games matches that people are captivated by, that people still consider to be pretty good and quite good. And I'm like, and in a couple I agree, but in this case here, this was not it. It's a difficult match to make work. You need specific elements to make them work. And here, well, it didn't work because of WWE's over-reliance on stories instead of just giving us fucking wrestling matches. Because when WWE decides to give us a wrestling match, like the Intercontinental title match, it blows the roof off the house and people are excited. And it's good. And it gives you something to talk about. But you know what? Like, there's nothing here. Ultimately, forget the show. Ignore the show. If you haven't watched it, don't. There's no reason. And it's not even like funny bad, it's not even stuff where you can point to and be like, okay, this was a tremendous fuck up or whatever. Like it's just a bad wrestling show. Avoid is my recommendation. Do something better with your time. Bake some cookies. That was Survivor Series 2024, Survivor Series War Games 2024.